this time is probably the most consequential, the most dangerous time for the European security, for global security that we are currently going through, and we believe that that the Western allies, or the not just NATO, but the alliance that has helped Ukraine to survive thus far and push back the Russian aggression, must definitely stick together. After all, the outcome or the consequences of this war will not be felt only in Ukraine, but also in Europe and globally. So for that reason, we certainly want to play a very constructive role, and we believe that the best outcome of this horrible, unprovoked invasion can only be reached if we, the Western Alliance, again speak or have these negotiations, talks, however we call them, from a position of strength, and with all the relevant parties, starting from Ukraine, involved in these negotiations, in these discussions. The exact formula for this involvement is something that certainly can be discussed, but we have to make sure that we remain in close consultations. Otherwise, the outcome may not be exactly the one that would make the world safer and better.
That's a very interesting comment. The outcome might not be the best outcome for safety and security for the world. So, give us an understanding of what your view of what should happen to make sure that the world is safe and secure, especially Ukraine and, of course, Estonia and the rest of the Baltics that are right next to Russia. Because let's face it, I haven't seen anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, to suggest that Russia's changed course, the course that it was on when it attacked Ukraine.
Correct. I guess our assessment is very similar. Vladimir Putin and his regime has clearly not given up on the maximalist goals that they had before unleashing this war. These goals can be, I guess, best described by looking at rereading the ultimata that Russia presented the United States and NATO separately. There were, quite interestingly, one ultimatum or they called it proposal for a treaty proposed to the United States, and then separate but along the same lines a treaty proposal which amounted to ultimatum proposed to NATO. It all happened in December 2021. These without repeating the text of these ultimata verbatim, we can summarize by saying that these objectives, Russian war objectives, foresee subjugating Ukraine fully. And this can happen partly militarily, partly politically, by using political and economic tools. And then creating a buffer zone, essentially a buffer zone, the 19th century kind of buffer zone along the Russian western border. And thirdly, pushing NATO back to where it was in terms of organization, in terms of military posture to 1997, and essentially making United States not a essential, not a major part of the European security. We all know that that would be a recipe for colossal uh, problems, tragedies, and future aggressions. So we have to make sure we, as an alliance, that and as partners with Ukraine, we have to make sure that that we, uh, when really negotiating or launching true negotiations on the end state of this horrible war, we have to make sure that we establish a position of collective strength by using all military, economic, and political means at our disposal in a very responsible way. And we have to be also sure that we have a common, well-stated strategic goal, and this is discussed again between the partners, so that we can all subscribe to that, and we can all play our part in this goal. And certainly, we have to have a very good understanding of what kind of security guarantees we are going to talk about when it comes to Ukraine. Because after all, this is the key question. We do understand that, and we have all heard these arguments about why a country at war cannot become a member of NATO overnight. But we still and firmly believe that NATO is the best, ultimately the best security guarantee, not only for Ukraine but also for the Western Alliance. It's the most efficient, it's the most cost-efficient security guarantee. But short of NATO membership, and pretty much on the day one after there is some kind of ceasefire or armistice, we have to have a security guarantees in place that are truly enforceable, are truly credible, and truly deter any future aggression.
Ambassador, let me ask this question first. Can Europe defend itself from aggressions from Russia and I guess any other entity without the United States? What would that look like, and how what would be necessary to make that happen?
Another very pertinent question. So I would actually first answer a different question. You asked, can Europe defend? I would first ask the question: will or would Europe defend itself? And the answer is resounding yes. European there is no doubt that there is a very clear understanding what's at stake in Europe. There is no doubt that countries like mine and the countries that are certainly on the NATO Eastern Front are taking whatever measures necessary to make our keep our defense credible, to keep our deterrence credible and visible. Estonia this year is second after Poland in terms of defense spending per GDP, around 3.4% of GDP. The countries in our region are all well beyond the NATO agreed 2% level. Estonian Prime Minister has indicated the intent to go way higher. He stated intend to go to 5% of GDP. This is not just a number. This is about defense capabilities. This is about our very visible, very loud intent to defend ourselves. Now the question: can Europe defend ourselves? To a certain point, for sure. But we have to all understand that the NATO as a construct is a set of different agreements between the nation states. There is no NATO armed forces. It's the collective defense agreement between the governments and with their own militaries in NATO, and it has been tailor-made over the past 75 years to face the possible threat as a collective. So there has never been a proposal. There has never been a proposal by any government, including the United States government, to form a NATO, let's say, European NATO force to be solely available and able to defend the NATO territory by itself. It's always been the agreement between the NATO governments, starting from the most important ally, the United States, that the collective might and collective capabilities of NATO countries should be enough for deterring and, if necessary, defending against a whole set of threats. But in this particular case, particularly against the Russian threat. So it has to be a collective effort that includes the United States, because this is how it has been designed. It has been designed with the United States in the driver's seat.
Well, Ambassador, I hear what you're saying. I also know that just yesterday, after the meeting in Paris, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said it's time to move on from that comfortable relationship that Europe has had with the United States, and in Britain's case, that special relationship that Winston Churchill talked about after or during the World War II years, to move on from that and to do what's necessary to protect Europe. Do you see any scenario where there does become a NATO European allied army to protect itself without the U.S. involved?
The current trajectory certainly is for the European component of NATO, or the capabilities that European allies possess and can credibly use now and in the foreseeable future. It's going up as a ratio of the NATO, total NATO capabilities in Europe. Certainly, there are all kinds of ideas on the table regarding how to speed up, beef up the European defense capabilities. However, from this current point where we are right now to a, let's say, standing European army, that would be a huge step, because again, even within NATO, we are not talking about a NATO army. We are not talking about, let's say, simply subtracting the American component from some unified army. But we are but in NATO, as I said, it's a sum of different components that are under their sovereign governments, and thus far discussion about the unified European army have been only, mostly theoretical. I cannot rule out the possibility of something along these lines, or these discussions going even further. After all, as I said, this is very consequential, very deciding point in history, and we all know that some new constructs, new organizations may be created out of this. But I personally and very firmly believe that it's not only in the interest of Europe to keep the United States involved in NATO and involved in European security, but this is certainly in the interest of the United States, and therefore I consider every or any arrangement that we may make in the future, any changes that we may make in the future to the arrangements that exist today, relevant or best only if the United States has its solid role in the security of Europe also in the future, so that also Europe can have its own role in supporting US if necessary globally.
All right, Ambassador, thank you. Is there anything you want to add to this conversation that I haven't asked you about that you think is important?
I simply think that we all know that words matter. We all know that some of the things said during the last couple of weeks on both sides of the Atlantic have created a lot of emotions, and for understandable reasons. But then again, I certainly believe that a country like mine and European allies in general, we all understand the not just the utility. Utility is maybe too blunt of a word, but the way the United States involvement in European security makes the entire world a better place. The way the United States involvement in European matters militarily helps also or contributes to this incredible integration that European and American economies have. The ways our countries are each or our Europe as a construct, European Union, and the United States, the way we are each other's greatest trade and investment partners, the way our companies are earning, the American companies are earning more money from their European affiliates than they do from the entire Indo-Pacific region. They earn close to 50 times the money that they earn from China, from Europe. So this is a relationship that is politically and economically really beneficial both ways, and ultimately the security relationship underwrites it or underpins it. I truly hope that we all understand it, and we hope we will keep it together.
Okay, Ambassador Kristjian Prikk from Estonia, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Green. This was a pleasure to talk to you as always.